So look at the thermostat on your wall right now.
Probably says what, like 70 degrees?
Exactly. It probably says a perfectly comfortable, completely unremarkable 70 degrees.
Yeah.
But imagine you're standing in a room where your head is inside a blazing hot oven.
Oh, man.
And your feet are literally freezing solid to the floor.
Right. So the average temperature in that room might technically be 70 degrees, but the reality of your situation is completely unlivable.
Exactly. And if you are listening to this deep dive right now, that is exactly what's happening in the construction industry. The surface numbers are telling us that everything is fine. You know, the overall construction backlog for February is sitting at 8.1 months. Feels very steady.
Very normal.
Right, very normal. But underneath that surface, the market is tearing into two completely different worlds. So our mission today for Scaling Legends is to pull you out of the illusion of that average.
Yeah, we have to look deeper.
We are unpacking a massive structural realignment driven by a $700 billion hyperscaler build-out, and we are going to give you a concrete roadmap for getting on the right side of the divide.
Because, I mean, that 8.1 month average is honestly the most dangerous number in construction today.
How so?
Because it breeds complacency. It completely hides the fact that the gap between the haves and the have-nots has reached this staggering extreme.
Right.
To understand the scale of this, we really have to look at Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report. Contractors who currently have data center projects on their books, they're carrying 11.2 months of backlog.
Wow. And everyone else.
Meanwhile, literally every other contractor is sitting at 7.6 months.
I mean, that is a 47% gap in guaranteed future revenue.
It is, and this divide has been widening for 3 consecutive quarters now. This isn't just some statistical blip.
Right.
And it isn't just a handful of lucky firms padding their numbers, This is the direct result of hyperscalers.
Meaning companies like Amazon and Google.
Exactly. Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Meta. They are pouring just completely unprecedented amounts of capital into compute infrastructure to support artificial intelligence and digital services.
Okay, well, let me push back on that timeline for a second.
Sure.
Because we saw a massive tech surge a few years ago, right? During the pandemic.
Yeah.
Everyone bought laptops, companies completely scrambled to build out remote servers, and it created this huge spike.
Right, the pandemic boom.
Yeah. So is this current data center boom just the tail end of that pandemic surge? Or does this represent like a permanent rewiring of where construction dollars are going to flow for the next decade?
Oh, this is a permanent rewiring, without a doubt.
Rightly.
Yeah, because it's driven by a fundamental shift in technology. The explosive growth of generative artificial intelligence requires specialized compute power that, frankly, traditional data centers just cannot handle.
Because of the processing power.
Exactly. AI doesn't just use standard processors, it relies on massive clusters of GPUs.
Yeah.
And those require exponentially more electricity, and they generate exponentially more heat.
Right, which means completely different buildings.
Exactly. Industry analysts project that data center construction spending will actually exceed $100 billion annually through 2028 just to keep up.
That's insane.
I mean, we saw 23 different mega projects.
Mega projects being what size?
Each valued at $100 million or more. We saw 23 of them enter the planning phase in February alone, and a massive portion of those are data centers.
Wow.
The contractors positioned to capture this specific type of infrastructure are simply pulling away from the rest of the pack.
Which means we really need to figure out where this blazing hot oven actually is, right? And who is actually capable of standing the heat. Because not everyone is feeling it.
No, they definitely aren't.
I mean, I've been to Texas recently, I've been to Arizona. There are cranes everywhere in the South and the West. But if you look at the geographic breakdown, those aren't the regions dominating the backlog growth, are they?
No, they're not.
So why would those regions be showing backlog declines when those markets are, ostensibly booming?
Well, it comes down to understanding the market mix.
Yes.
Yes, there's visible activity in the South and West, but those markets are currently dealing with a real softening in residential and light commercial work.
Oh, okay.
The major growth happening in those regions is heavily concentrated in heavy civil and massive industrial projects. And those require a scale of operation that most mid-market contractors just do not have.
Right, they can't touch that stuff.
Exactly. If we look at the geographic anomalies highlighted in Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report, the only region in the entire country showing year-over-year backlog growth is the Middle States.
The Middle States. So we're talking about
Specifically Virginia, Ohio, and Pennsylvania.
Well, Virginia makes total sense. I mean, Northern Virginia is Data Center Alley, right, which is essentially the internet's hometown.
Right.
It has the highest concentration of fiber optics and data centers on Earth.
Ashburn and Loudoun County in Virginia are the absolute epicenter, yes.
Yep.
But then you look at Ohio.
What's happening in Ohio?
Intel is building a $20 billion semiconductor fabrication plant there.
20 billion.
Yeah. A mega project of that magnitude creates this gravitational pull, right?
Right.
It drives a tremendous amount of ancillary data center development in the surrounding area.
That makes sense. And what about the rest of the country?
Well, meanwhile, the Northeast is entirely flat.
Yeah.
And the broader Midwest is actually struggling because the expected demand for agricultural infrastructure just hasn't materialized like people thought it would.
Interesting. And this geographical concentration, it ties directly into the company size gap, right? Because, I mean, building a massive industrial facility in Ohio isn't really something a typical $15 million contractor takes on as a prime.
Oh, the disparity in company size is even more glaring than the geography.
Really?
Yeah. Large contractors, meaning those with over $100 million in annual revenue, they're averaging 10.4 months of backlog right now.
Okay. And the smaller firms?
Firms under $30 million are sitting at just 6.8 months.
Man, that's rough.
The big firms are feasting because these data center projects are a massive multi-year engagements. A typical hyperscaler campus involves anywhere from $500 million to $2 billion in total construction value.
$2 billion for one campus.
Yes, with individual buildings running, $200 to $500 million each.
Right.
To even bid as a prime contractor on a $500 million building, you need immense bonding capacity. You need pristine safety records and incredibly deep workforce benches. The smaller firms are starving because they simply don't have the financial armor to sit at that table.
Right. But this is where the golden loophole opens up for you, right?
All right.
The mid-market contractor listening to this right now.
Exactly.
Because a $2 billion campus is way too big for almost anyone to chew alone. The prime contractors, the massive GCs winning these bids, they absolutely cannot self-perform all of this work.
Not even close. They don't have the specialized manpower.
Right, so they are desperate for specialized subcontractors.
They are entirely reliant on the subcontractor market to deliver these facilities. However, I will say, not every trade benefits equally from this boom.
Okay, so who's winning?
Well, when you look at the specific trade demand data from Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report, a very clear hierarchy of need emerges.
Let's break that down.
Electrical contractors are by far the most sought after. We are talking about 35 to 40% of the total construction cost of a data center going strictly to electrical work.
Wait, 40% of the building cost is just electrical?
Just an electrical.
Because to put that in perspective for you guys listening, these facilities are pulling 30 to 100 megawatts of power. And 100 megawatts is enough electricity to power roughly 80,000 homes.
It's crazy. The power density is just staggering. Electrical contractors are installing massive medium voltage switchgear, fields of backup generators and rooms full of uninterruptible power supplies.
Unbelievable. Who's next in demand?
Right behind them are the mechanical and HVAC contractors.
For all the cooling.
Exactly. Cooling systems account for 30 to 40% of a data center's ongoing operating costs.
Wow.
But the mechanical work is evolving. Instead of standard DX cooling, which is, essentially just a massive version of the air conditioner you have at a traditional office.
Right.
The technology is rapidly shifting. Mechanical contractors are now installing liquid cooling systems.
Liquid cooling for servers.
Yeah, direct-to-chip cooling and rear-door heat exchangers.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't just blowing cold air anymore. They are literally plumbing microscopic leak-proof water lines.
Directly onto the
computer processors, to pull the heat away.
Listening to these specs, the 100 megawatts of power, the direct-to-chip plumbing, it sounds like a data center isn't actually a building in the traditional sense.
No, it's really not.
It's essentially a giant high-voltage computer power supply.
Yeah.
And a massive industrial refrigerator that just happens to have a concrete shell wrapped around it to keep the rain off.
That is probably the absolute most accurate way to visualize the engineering, honestly.
Yeah.
And, speaking of that concrete shell, the demands placed on concrete and structural contractors are in a completely different league, too.
Because of the weight.
Exactly. Because you are packing thousands of tons of heavy liquid cooling equipment massive batteries, and incredibly dense server racks into these rooms, the literal floor beneath them has to change.
Right.
These facilities require massive slab-on-grade foundations that are designed to support server rack loads of 150 to 250 pounds per square foot.
Okay, so basically we aren't building a floor for office workers, we're building a parking garage for anvils.
Essentially, yes.
What is the load capacity of a normal commercial office, just for comparison?
A standard commercial office is engineered for only 50 to 80 pounds per square foot.
50 to 80. And we're talking up to 250.
Yes, you're looking at triple the structural density.
That's wild. What other trades?
On top of the concrete and structural work, fire protection contractors are in incredibly high demand.
Well, yeah, you can't just spray water on $1 billion worth of computers.
Exactly. You cannot put a standard water sprinkler system inside these rooms. They have to install highly specialized clean agent suppression systems that extinguish fires chemically without any water damage.
Makes sense.
Add to that the low-voltage cabling contractors who have to splice and run literally miles of complex fiber optic backbones, and you see why the subcontractor demand is just so fierce.
So the demand is clearly there.
Yeah.
But knowing what trades are needed is only really half the battle, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
If you want this work, you have to know exactly who is handing out the checks, and you have to understand the hoops they're going to make you jump through.
Yeah, you have to identify the gatekeepers.
Right.
If you want a piece of this $700 billion pie, you have to get past the top general contractors controlling the pipeline.
Who are the big players right now?
Turner Construction is currently the largest data center builder in the U.S. by volume. You also have DPR Construction, Holder Construction, who actually has incredibly deep, long-standing ties with Microsoft and Google.
Okay, Turner, DPR, Holder.
Right. Fortis out in the Pacific Northwest, plus Hensel Phelps, Balfour Beatty, and J.E. Dunn.
Okay, so those are the names. But getting on their bid list is not just a matter of dropping off a box of donuts and a business card.
No, not at all. The pre-qualification process is ruthless.
Ruthless.
Well, these general contractors require an experience modification rate, your EMR safety score, to be below 0.80.
Wow.
They demand immense financial capacity because you are going to be dealing with 60 to 90-day payment cycles from the owners.
Ouch.
And they require the workforce depth to commit 20 to 50 skilled workers to a single site for 12 months or more.
Okay, let me push back for a second here.
Before it.
Because if you're listening to this and you run, say, a $15 million shop, you're probably thinking, wait, I have to float payroll for 50 guys for 90 days before I see a dime?
Yeah, it's intimidating.
I mean, floating payroll for 90 days is the kind of math that keeps a business owner staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m.
Oh.
And my EMR has to be under 0.80, which takes, 3 years of rolling safety data to achieve?
3 years, yes.
That sounds like a brick wall.
Yeah.
Honestly, is this essentially a rigged game that intentionally locks out the mid-market contractor?
Look, it absolutely feels like a brick wall. I get that. But it is not a rigged game.
Then what is it?
It is entirely about risk mitigation for the hyperscalers. When a company like Meta or Google is building a $2 billion facility that serves as a critical node in their global AI infrastructure, time is their most valuable asset.
Okay, so they can't afford any hiccups.
Exactly. A single safety incident that shuts down the job site, or a $5 million subcontractor defaulting mid-project because they couldn't manage their cash flow, that can derail the entire timeline.
And a delay means what to them?
A 1-month delay costs the hyperscaler tens of millions in lost cloud computing revenue.
Oh, wow.
So the gatekeepers enforce these draconian rules because they just have zero margin for error.
Okay, so how do you actually climb that wall? Because it requires a very specific multi-year playbook, doesn't it? You can't just blindly bid on a Google campus tomorrow and hope for the best.
Oh, you will get screened out by the pre-qualification software before a human ever even looks at your bid.
Right.
Step 1 of the mid-market playbook is to start small. Do not chase the $50 million subcontract right out of the gate. You need to target the 5 to 10 megawatt edge data centers.
Now, these are the smaller facilities built closer to the end user to reduce network latency, right? Like getting the data closer to the people.
Correct. Edge data centers are typically built by colocation providers. So companies like Equinix, Digital Realty, or QTS.
Okay.
The total project value for these smaller facilities is usually between, say, $20 and $80 million.
So what does that mean for the subcontractor?
That means the electrical or mechanical subcontracts are a much more manageable $1 to $10 million.
Oh, okay. That's a huge difference.
Exactly. It It allows you to build a track record in the mission-critical space without overextending your credit lines.
That is a much more realistic entry point. But what about all those certifications and the financials? How do you actually prepare your books and your crew for those ruthless pre-qualifications we just talked about?
You have to start building the right credentials today, even if you don't have a project lined up.
Like what?
Well, if you are an electrical contractor, you need to get your testing technicians NETA certified. That's NETA, which is the gold standard for electrical testing.
Got it.
You need to get your team trained on NFPA 70E ARC, flash awareness, and strict energized work permits.
And if you're mechanical.
If you are a mechanical contractor, you should actively pursue SHRA certifications, specifically for data center cooling standards.
Okay.
And honestly, across the board, having OSHA 30 certification for all of your field supervisors is completely non-negotiable.
Period. And you have to get your paperwork into their systems proactively, right? Like, you don't just wait for a project to be announced in your county.
Do not wait. You need to find the online pre-qualification portals for Turner, DPR, and Holder right now.
Just go do it today.
Fill them out completely. You will need to provide 3 years of audited financials, which shows them your cash flow strength, along with your insurance limits and your EMR history.
Okay.
Get all of this into their database so that when a project finally drops in your region, you are already flagged as an approved entity.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You also have to fundamentally change where you are shaking hands, right? Like, traditional construction trade shows just aren't going to cut it anymore.
No, you need to network where the technology people are. Stop going to general construction expos. You need to start attending niche, tech-focused events.
Like which ones?
Things like Data Center World, AFCOM, and the 7x24 Exchange.
Why those specifically?
Because these are the conferences where the data center owners, the specialized designers, and those top-tier general contractors actually gather to discuss their future pipelines and make selection decisions.
But looking at the timeline, there's a ticking clock here, isn't there?
A bit, yes.
You mentioned earlier that the major capital expenditure plans run through, 2028 to 2030? If it takes a mid-market contractor 12 to 18 months just to overhaul their safety program, lower their EMR to 0.80, get their financials audited, get all these specialized certifications, are they already out of time? Or is there still a window to establish themselves before this massive greenfield construction phase moderates?
The window is tight, but it is absolutely not closed. You have a 3 to 4 year opportunity right now to establish your firm in this sector.
Okay, good.
Because here's the critical piece to understand. While the intense greenfield, ground-up construction of massive new campuses will eventually moderate as these initial waves are completed, the work does not vanish.
Where did it go?
It shifts. It shifts into endless expansions, retrofits, and constant technology upgrades.
Like swapping out the cooling systems.
Exactly, like swapping out older air cooling systems for the new liquid cooling plumbing we discussed. If you get your foot in the door and prove your reliability right now, you secure that highly profitable recurring upgrade work for the next decade.
Right. Now, speaking of proving your reliability, we have to talk about the friction of actually doing this work.
Oh, the admin side.
Yeah. Chasing a $10 million edge data center subcontract multiplies your administrative burden overnight. You cannot run these projects on spreadsheets and gut instinct.
Definitely not.
And this is exactly why this deep dive and the intelligence reports we've been referencing are brought to you by Smart Business Automator.
Which is such a necessary tool for this.
Completely. When you start dealing with the 90-day payment cycles and the zero margin for error compliance of these massive general contractors, your project managers cannot spend 20 hours a week just doing data entry.
Right.
Smart Business Automator is an AI-powered platform built specifically for construction companies to scale without drowning in that admin work. Instead of your team digging through endless unorganized folders, the platform automatically tags, sorts, and categorizes your photos, plans, permits, RFIs, and submittals.
That's huge for compliance.
It actually extracts the crucial details right out of the dense architectural specs and drawings so you don't miss a critical requirement.
And from a risk mitigation standpoint, which, we just established is the absolute most vital metric for these data center gatekeepers, a tool like this is essential.
Right.
The platform actively reviews your project schedules to detect risks and bottlenecks before they turn into actual delays. It identifies budget variances early, And honestly, most importantly, it cross-checks your project information against the massive complex specifications of these hyperscaler projects.
To catch the mistakes early.
Exactly, to catch compliance gaps before they lead to a defaulted contract.
Yeah, it even generates draft RFI responses using your historical project data, and it turns those rambly field reports into clear, actionable summaries. It essentially acts like a project-aware AI assistant, letting your team search across all files using natural language. This means your project managers can actually focus on managing the job, keeping the crew safe, and protecting your margins, rather than just fighting with paperwork all day.
Which is exactly what you need.
And it integrates directly with your existing ERPs and accounting software to create custom workflows tailored to how you actually run your business.
That's incredible.
So before we wrap up, here's what you need to do next. Visit smartbusinessautomator.com to learn how you can handle more complex projects without the administrative headache.
Highly recommend it.
And if you found value in this deep dive today, subscribe to Scaling Legends on your preferred platform. Rate and review the show so other contractors can discover these highlights. And most importantly, share this deep dive with your team. Send it to your safety officers and your estimators. Get your entire operation aligned on where the market is actually heading.
Yeah, everyone needs to be on the same page.
Because we have to address the immediate danger of doing nothing. The danger of just staying put in your comfortable 70-degree room.
Because the trap there is margin compression.
How so?
Well, if your backlog is sitting at 7.6 months or less, and you are entirely dependent on traditional commercial or residential sectors, your margin for error is razor thin. When material and labor costs squeeze those margins, one lost bid, one delayed project, or one slow-paying client can create a catastrophic cash flow crisis.
It's a house of cards.
Yes.
So if you were sitting there listening to this and you are thinking to yourself, you know what, I never plan to bid a single data center project. It's too complex, it's too risky, it's just not my lane. Consider this. What happens to your local market when the traditional commercial work inevitably dries up and all of your competitors who also completely ignored the data center boom suddenly flood your space?
Yeah, they're going to come looking for your work.
Desperately underbidding you on the few remaining traditional jobs just to keep their lights on. Chew on that for a bit.